How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. First of all, I got to say that I see why Oprah Winfrey was smiling when you was on her show the entire time.
See there? Are you flirting with me?
No, not really flirting, just giving you a compliment. That's all right, right? Michelle, she'll be fine.
Michelle is very confident. She knows that I'm her guy, and and she admits that I've held up pretty good. We just celebrated our 15-year anniversary, so she told me that if I'd gotten big and sloppy, then she might have kicked me out of the house.
Okay, don't want to get that done to you.
Absolutely not.
Okay, first of all, everybody's questions. If you are elected president, when are our troops coming home?
We are going to start bringing our troops home right away. I'm somebody who opposed this war from the start. The only major candidate in the Democratic primary who had the judgment to say this is a bad idea. So we're going to get these troops home. We can bring them out about 1 to 2 brigades a month. So that's a few thousand troops per month. At that pace, it'll probably take about 16 months to get all the troops out who are in combat roles. And the only troops that I see remaining would be to protect our embassy, protect our civilian humanitarian workers and diplomats, and to carry some limited strikes out against Al-Qaeda in Iraq. But that will be a very small, limited mission compared to, and we won't have a bunch of troops walking the streets of Baghdad policing a civil war over there.
Okay, let's talk about health insurance. There's over 48 million Americans that don't have insurance. I got to admit that before I had a full-time job, I was one of those 48 million. So I know how it is to have to go to the doctor and not have the money and not really want to go because you don't really want to have to pay. So what is your plan to lower that number?
Well, I've got a specific plan, and I'm going to pass it by the end of my first term as president. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a government plan similar to the one that I have as a member of Congress. If you don't have health insurance, you can buy into this plan. If you can't afford it, we'll subsidize you. We'll put more money into prevention so that kids who have asthma are getting regular checkups instead of going to the emergency room. We're going to put more money into information technologies that can improve quality and reduce costs. We can save about $150 billion every single year. We take that money, and that's how we help subsidize those who don't have health insurance. The one other thing we're going to need to do is roll back some of these Bush tax cuts on the top 1%, the wealthiest Americans, to help pay for that health insurance. But over the long term, it'll be good for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Well, what about education? I have a 3-year-old. He is not in preschool yet, but he's in a daycare that, they do teach, but I know that most kids aren't starting on time. So what can you do as far as the expansion of preschool, getting our kids in school earlier so that they won't be one of many that have, dropped out?
Well, I want to start it even earlier. If you've got an at-risk parent, say a teenage mom, I want to have a teacher or a nurse or a social worker to contact them the day that child is born and start giving them the information they need about how to prepare their kids for school. Because you've got to start reading to these kids when they're 1 and 2 years old. You've got to talk to them to expand their vocabulary. Setting up those kinds of programs and then having high-quality daycare and preschool, that makes all the difference, because if kids are prepared for school on that first day, that carries over for their entire career at school. You see improved reading scores, reduced dropout rates, reduced delinquency rates. Every dollar we invest in early childhood education, we get $7 back in better outcomes.
I wanted to save this MySpace thing to last, but I guess since I'm looking at it, I'm like a little mad at you right now. You want to know why?
Why? What did I do?
Because you got over 180,000 friends, and I asked you to be my friend, and you have not accepted me.
I want you to be my friend. So what do I need to do to be your friend?
You have to tell your people that manages your MySpace to accept Miss Monique, the First Lady. How can you not have the other First Lady as your friend?
It seems to me that I should be honored. that you want to be my friend.
I do want to be your friend.
Come on, let's shake on it.
All right, listen, okay, another thing. As far as the young voters, do you think that MySpace helps with you getting more votes? And, you know, you got a lot of blocks, too. You think that helps?
Well, you know, I think young people are interested in this election like they haven't been in a long time. Partly because they know we've got to have big change. Not little bitty change, but we've got to have big change from Bush and Cheney. And that means that we are not only dealing with early childhood education, but also making college more affordable. A lot of your listeners, they're taking out debt. They come out of school, they got $30,000, $40,000 worth of debt. It's like having a mortgage and they don't even have a house yet.
Make you not want to go to school.
Right. You know, there are a lot of your listeners who are concerned about the environment and what's going to be happening with global warming and you know, how that could affect them and their lives in the future. There are a lot of your listeners who are concerned about international situations because, you know, if we keep on down the course we're on, fighting wars and not talking to our enemies, you know, that can have an impact on them. It's the young people who end up being sent off to war. So I think that there are a lot of issues that young people are concerned about, and they're concerned that there are going to be jobs there in the future, which means we've got to have economic policies that keep jobs here in the United States and help train people to get employment. And then there's a whole set of issues around incarceration and ex-offenders that is not being dealt with at all by this president, but we've got thousands of young people who are released every day from prison. And they've taken a wrong course. A lot of them, though, were nonviolent drug offenders. We've got to get them back on track. And so young people, I think, recognize that government hasn't done much for them. They feel cynical and skeptical about it, but they're thinking, well, maybe this time might be different. And you know, I think I can be a good messenger for their concerns in this election.
All right. Well, I appreciate you talking with me. And if you could tell the thousands of kids out there that are listening right now, what would you tell them and why would you want them to vote for you?
Well, because I think I understand what they're going through a little more than many of these other presidential candidates. You know, I am 46 years old, so I'm a lot older than most of your listeners. But
The youngest.
I'm definitely the youngest candidate, and you know, a candidate who knows what it's like to be raised by a single mom, that knows what it's like to make mistakes when he was young, but was able to pick himself up. That I think living on the south side of Chicago relates to and understands the challenges that a lot of folks have out there who are just trying to make ends meet and haven't been able to get their, you know, foot on the ladder up into buying a house or settling down. So I think that somebody who's got a track record of working on those issues, somebody who's passed racial profiling legislation, somebody who's reformed the death penalty in Illinois, somebody who's shown that I don't just talk the talk but walk the walk, hopefully that will be something that's interesting to them.
All right, thank you so much. It's the First Lady, Miss Monique, again with Senator Barack Obama. Thank you so much again. We appreciate it, and good luck, and you are definitely in my prayers, you and your family.
Thank you so much, Monique. My friend.
Who got middays on lock?
Monique?
First Lady.
The First Lady.
Thank you so much.
All right.